And hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast, the only video game show.
Ever.
Yep. So today the two of my good friends are here, and we're going to discuss the Nintendo Wins show. I mean E3. I am joined with Ben the Destroyer.
Sup?
And Binch Al Dente.
That was a fine display of nepotism. I'm proud of you.
Yep. I am 100% biased in Nintendo's favor, and I will make no illusions otherwise. But we'll start with everything else, just because Nintendo was the last one chronologically.
Which is fair. And talk about saving the best for last. Ooh, I do not even know where to start. Where do you two want to start?
I'm going to start with you two are both wrong.
Okay, who did win, in your opinion?
The last one was not Nintendo. We had left it on for background noise, and Konami did a thing. Did you hear about that?
I know, Konami did a thing.
Yeah, they did like a 10-minute thing about how they were resurrecting some system nobody cares about and made it very small.
You mean the TurboGrafx 16 Mini?
That. I'm like, what is this? Where's my Metal Gear? Where's my good boy? I was promised a good boy. I was promised a lot of good boys. This is not a good boy. This is sad.
Well, The closest thing that we got to a good boy, so to speak, was on the Japanese version of the system, where it included arguably one of the best games ever made, Castlevania Rondo of Blood. But I know that with these miniature consoles, they're going to vary by region, so the US version's definitely not going to have it. I'm sorry.
I didn't see that. I would have been excited. I would have been like, it's not Simon, yay! But they didn't say Castlevania at all. They were just a bunch of games I've never heard of.
Yeah. The closest you'll ever get to playing that on an American machine is through the Castlevania Requiem pack, but it's just a port of the PSP versions of not just Rondo, but Symphony of the Night, and they changed the voice acting, I'm sorry to say. So, no miserable little pile of secrets for you.
Oh, but it was funny. Oh, wow.
And incidentally, there's not much in the way of extras either. You just get the 2 games and that's it.
Lame. Konami, you make me sad.
Oh, and it's PS4.
The first thing that caught
you first.
Yeah. So I was gonna say the first thing that caught my eye, just because it just came like straight up out of nowhere, was Battletoads is coming back.
Sorry, I just had a Vietnam flashback.
I thought that was really cool. Like, I've never had FaceTime with them in their own game, but, you know, he was in that fighting game once, one of them. They were in Shovel Knight, right? So that was really neat to see. A lot of people were happy.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a new 2D animation art style.
And yet they still looked just as gross. So,
yeah.
Them.
But if we know anything about Battletoads, and I'm a little split on whether or not they're going to keep this up with the new one, we have to talk about the difficulty.
Yeah.
I hope it's hard as fuck, because that's funny. Like having people play it on the stream and watching them all kill each other and bad. That's good entertainment right there. I don't know about you.
Well, if you want it that bad, you could just boot up the original Battletoads with the Rare Replay collection and make them play the existential horror of Turbo Tunnel over and over again. I mean, I was able to beat it, but I'm not going to lie. I actually looked this up. There is a small amount of input lag when playing some of these older games because they weren't designed for HD TVs. And more to the point, there's no calibration setting. So if your timing is just a little bit off in some of the later ones, you are completely screwed and there is no way to change it.
I'm going to calibrate myself over to Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, yeah. We should probably talk about that, speaking of...
I didn't want to do that gun, but you said Rare Replay, and I'm like, Banjo did the thing!
Right. Well,
Yep.
Microsoft and Nintendo did the thing.
Yep. And yeah. And like on the topic of Microsoft, something that while not blown away with, I was pleasantly surprised and interested in is, they're making Minecraft into a Diablo-esque dungeon crawler, and visually it looks great since it has all of the since it's all Minecraft looking. It's very it's all bright and colorful, and it's not some type of mesh of gray sludge.
I need to ask you both, just because it's been a long time, do you still play Minecraft and enjoy it unironically?
Yes.
Or it's just around still because it's a meme? Because we have the video memes on at the house when we have nothing else to do, and Minecraft is 90% of the stuff that we watch. And I'm just I can't tell if Minecraft is just a really long running joke or people still actually genuinely like playing it.
Well, if people liked playing it for that much in the first place, Microsoft wouldn't have bought it wholesale. And look at how many kids have found a creative platform for that, not just as a sandbox for personal expression, but even in schools, some kids and college students are using it for projects. That's a real testament to just how long this thing's legs are. And I doubt we're going to get a second one, if anything.
Okay, so that's good insight. I didn't bother to look anything up about Minecraft before this. It's all pretty impromptu, but it's just I thought it was just tired at this point. People seem dejected that we got Banjo and Smash over the Minecraft dude, and I didn't see why, because I was he's a joke though. So
that's certainly up for debate, but I think the main reason Banjo wasn't Smash was because
he's awesome.
Well, that, and I cannot believe that I'm old enough to remember this, but there was indeed a magical time when Rare was completely owned by Nintendo, and Banjo did rise to fame on the Nintendo 64 on those plucky little cartridges. He's got the nostalgia built in and the iconography to match the caliber of something like Smash, along with the characters from, or rather the character, the hero from the Dragon Quest games. In fact, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but there was a time when the original Dragon Quest game, back when it was known as Dragon Warrior in the US, it was given away for free with certain copies of Nintendo Power magazine.
Huh.
I had no idea. You got me.
Well,
Did we get there?
Since we got to this topic, we might as well just jump right to Nintendo and get to the rest as we go.
No, it's too glaring. I'm sorry. He's right there.
I mean, but yeah, we'll start with I was surprised just because when it comes to Nintendo and their video game presentations, I'm still the little overly excited kid who bears an almost uncanny resemblance to Chucky from Rugrats. So when I found out that Dragon Quest guy, and not just one, but at least 4 of them were going in, I was really surprised, because apparently, in other parts of the world, Dragon Quest is so obscenely popular that they pretty much just close the schools because they know that no one's actually going to either attend or work there that day.
Well, the story I read was that Square can only release new copies of Dragon Quest on or right before the weekends so that we don't have instances of mass truancy. Now, I can't really back that up with any concrete evidence, but given that we live in an age where teachers are having conniptions over, kids being addicted to Fortnite on their phones, a game being forced to release in a way that avoids disrupting the classroom wouldn't really surprise me.
Well, it was so weird to read because, it's not something I looked into. I had no idea Dragon Quest was really that popular. And I had seen the meme going around on Twitter where they were using American Dad to display how excited for a character a group of people were.
Mm-hmm.
So, when they were talking about the Dragon Quest guy, Stan would stay in bed and the music would play. And he would talk about Banjo and he would get up and sing the song. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just like, okay. So I looked it up, and yeah, you're exactly right. Where they used to release this game, and people would just stay home and not go to work. And I'm like, is it really that huge? Like, literally, out of all the Dragon Quest heroes that they showed, only the pirate one was the one that stuck out to me. He's the only one I've ever seen. Because I think his game was on the 3DS once. I think I saw it in passing. The other guys, I had no idea who they were. Until they said, hey, check it out. This game is on the Switch, and there's the guy who's in it. And I'm like, oh, all right, neat. He doesn't have any, like, he doesn't appeal to me one way or another, but I'm happy the people who liked him got him.
Yeah, I felt the same way about, Joker being in Smash, and let me tell you, that was a bit of whiplash. But I appreciated his inclusion all the same because, it is a huge honor. And I know it's just a coincidence, but I had to chuckle at the revelation that the guy who voiced Joker in the English dub, Xander Mopus, God, that's such a freaking awesome name. He's also the same guy who does all the voiceover work in the Smash games. That was just like mind blown, right?
He got paid twice.
Yeah.
Something else I had read on Discord that struck me a little odd was people were saying that Dragon Quest wasn't going to be a thing in Smash Brothers because of how transphobic one of the musicians is, or something.
Really?
Yeah. I'd have to go and dig that up for you again, or if you want to put that in like your description for people who are listening to this. It was a big thing, and I guess it must have passed under my radar because I don't care what Japanese musicians are doing that affect my daily life. But I guess it was big enough to the point where they thought Nintendo wouldn't go and get mixed up with that sort of what's the word?
Yeah. This is news to me too, and I'm looking it up, and yeah, there actually was a bit of a controversy a while back involving a composer for one of the earlier games.
Yeah, he's like a really big deal over there too. So to read that was kind of jarring. I was a little shook. I was just like, I don't know. I guess I don't really stand heavily one way or another on it. They're going to do what they're going to do, and they know it makes money, whatever. So, I don't know. It was just not expected, I guess. But there's no denying the power that Dragon Quest has now that I've known, now that I read about it.
Right.
I don't know. It just feels weird to just kind of know that they acknowledged those politics, but still did it anyway.
Let it be said, you learn something new every day, but you don't always learn something good.
Yeah. It's okay because we got Banjo and that made it better, but
yeah, so let's
yeah. But
so
anyway,
moving on to that, I was
sorry, I got real heavy for a second.
No, it's
that's fine.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
So long as we're on the subject of surprise appearances by fan favorite sword wielding warriors coming to the Switch, good lord, The Witcher 3 coming to Switch.
Yeah, that was
I
weird.
was just, I'm
My
going to be a
goodness.
terrible person for saying this, but I only just got around to finishing The Witcher 3 in its entirety, including the base game and the 2 expansions on my Xbox One X. And I told Tyler this, and I know this is going to be a bit redundant, I'm going to go on record and say that it just might be the best Western RPG I've ever played, at least since Mass Effect 2 many moons ago.
Banjo-Kazooie would like a word with you, sir.
Okay. But yeah, so the fact that they were planning on doing a Switch port of something like this, it's definitely going to be one hell of a challenge. I'm hoping that Saber Interactive, the studio working on it, can pull this off without a hitch.
It was, yeah, like, I didn't think the Switch was that powerful. Like, I remember that game being a big deal. And don't feel bad because I've never played it once. I knew he was in the fighting game. What?
Soul Calibur 6.
That one. Thank you. Because they showed him off once, and I was like, oh, it's the Witcher guy. So don't feel bad. But I remember everybody blowing that game out of the water. Like, it was a big deal when it came out, and it was like very graphically pretty and intensive and stuff. I didn't think the Switch could handle that sort of thing.
Well, there are going to be some major compromises. Did a little research into this, and I looked at a couple Digital Foundry videos. They confirmed that the Switch port is going to run at 720p while in docked mode, and when you put it in handheld mode, it's going to be 540p. And even then, a lot of the fancy graphical effects are going to be cut. But they've also said that somehow they're going to be able to fit the entire experience onto the Switch card. I don't know how many of you listening to this are familiar with this issue, but we've run into this problem with certain Nintendo Switch releases, including the Mega Man Legacy Collection combo pack for the physical card, where not everything you bought was on the physical card. You would still need an internet connection and possibly an extra micro SD card for the storage to download the rest of the thing. So for one of the most technically demanding and critically beloved RPGs of the last decade to fit onto a single card, if they can pull this off, it might be as big a technical accomplishment for the Switch, if not more so, than Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I fucking went there.
Hot takes. Spicy.
Oh, that's nothing compared to when this game comes out and we do get the inevitable civil war, especially if, God forbid, they start a fight over whether Yennefer or Zelda is the better waifu.
No, like, it makes me upset because I remember trying LA Noire when it came out, and it's like, download all this stuff, and I'm like, why? It's an Xbox 360 game. Can't we just... But no, I had to go and download extra stuff to play it. I think it's because it was a small card.
Right.
Is the 32 gig card something new for them?
No, it's been something we've had for a while. And Virtuous, the people who worked on the LA Noire port, they also did the Switch port of Dark Souls Remastered, and they had to make a few sacrifices for that as well. I read they are planning on coming out with Switch cards that have twice as much storage, but I don't think those are going to start coming out until later this year and the beginning of 2020. We'll see, though.
Is Switch tax still a thing where they're going to charge you more for getting it on the Switch because of that reason?
It's only for physical releases, weirdly enough. I've seen that happen where a physical copy of, say, the new Crystal Crisis puzzle game is $10 more than if you buy a download code.
That's so dumb.
It is.
I'm afraid it comes with the territory. Nintendo has always been known for doing their own thing, but that thing isn't always sensible.
Not a fan.
Nope.
Love you, Nintendo, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
What if Animal Crossing comes out and they're just like, yeah, it's $70 physical. I won't punch a small animal.
Jesus! That's dark, especially since you're talking about Animal Crossing. Like, what are you gonna do? Beat the living crap out of Isabelle and Smash Brothers out of spite, you monster?
You do not touch her.
I do that already. My roommate picks Isabelle, and I really like Ridley. He's my favorite boy.
Why don't you throw in a disclaimer for animal rights activists too while we're at it?
I'm not that bad, I promise.
Sure.
But no, I'm so ready for the new Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of Animal Crossing and basic rights, I read that there was that significant delay to 2020, and Nintendo lost a fair amount of stock, but they're saying that they're doing it to give the developers time to breathe.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's not going to be like the situations we had with Anthem.
We shouldn't be like applauding that, though. That should be the norm already. Like, this isn't a sweatshop. This isn't a prison. This is like entertainment for people.
Yeah.
I'll occasionally look into people like Jim Sterling when I'm driving home or something. seems to be all he talks about lately. And I'm like, I can't believe this is such a prevalent thing.
Yeah.
Like, where's the fun? If you have to sit there and be that cruel to the people who make your content, like...
Yeah. And it's not just BioWare, of course. I remember when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, there was a bit of a backlash against the idea that apparently the people at Rockstar and the writing staff were working, and I quote, 100-hour work weeks to get the product out the door. Now, I can appreciate that, yes, games can sometimes go off the rails, and there are times where you gotta knuckle down and put in a little bit of elbow grease to get things out the door and put in a little bit of effort. But I think there's a clear difference between a bunch of programmers staying up late and making sure that their game is good than having it forced down upon them from on high by tone-deaf management who thinks that all it'll take to make a good game is brute force overtime programming.
Right. And to tie it back to the E3, subject of this episode, they said that they're doing that, or like allegedly doing that, with the Cyberpunk game.
Right.
Keanu Reeves and stuff. Those are the same guys who made Witcher, right?
Yep, CD Projekt Red. And you better believe the Keanu Reeves thing took everyone by surprise, especially me. I was just not...
It's made for some spicy memes. Like, I appreciate it. But, like, knowing that they may have gotten away with doing that to their developers or, like, their programmers again...
Yeah.
...is just... It's really irritating.
There's certainly an argument to be made that there is a bit of a double standard. Like, if Anthem had been commercially and critical successful and gotten like an 85 on Metacritic as opposed to a 60, would there have been nearly as much backlash and criticism of their development practices?
No, because people would turn a blind eye because the game is fun.
Right.
Like, they have been. I think
the end justifies the means, so to speak.
It wouldn't.
No.
Like, I still feel bad.
It wouldn't, but they'd think it would.
Yeah.
It's miserable. And I think this needs to be out in the public a little more. Like, what Nintendo did was really, really good of them. And I hope that they don't have to say that they're doing it in the future. Like, I don't want that to be something we applaud someone for not treating someone like shit, especially when they're making a video game. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that.
Yep.
That it should be the rule and not the exception. I get that.
Because, like, if they're having fun making it and they feel good about it, we're going to feel that way when we're playing the game. Like, I get that you'll still feel fine playing the game now, as evidenced by all the stuff that's already happened, but, like, it's just... I'm sorry. If I keep talking about this too much, I'm never going to shut up, so...
No. It's fine. We all
it needs to be said.
It's fine. We all have our metaphorical buttons that sometimes get pushed.
Oh, God.
So, in Animal Crossing, now dubbed New Horizons, it's revealed that, the devil in brown fur Tom Nook is taking the player to an island this time where you can, sort of renovate it and make it your, I guess, a village you can make by hand, as evidence that apparently you can eventually from a tent get a house. And something I thought was aesthetically neat was being able to sculpt your own walkway.
Yes! Thank you! I jumped out of my chair at that part. You have no idea how excited I am. I don't have to put designs on the floor anymore. I'm excited. I don't get it. If you guys get the game, I want you to play with me.
Okay.
Come visit.
And the game just looks beautiful. Like, I got like a video of their Nintendo Treehouse live thing, and just seeing it, it's like New Leaf was already pretty snappy looking considering it was on the 3DS, but now that it's on the Switch, everything like it has the tropical feel that you'd think an island fun time game would have.
Oh, I want to take the example you just made, how the 3DS game looked great, but now it's on the Switch and it looks even better. And I want to tie it into something I'm also salty about. Let's talk more salt. Let's sip some more tea. So everybody's up in arms about the new Pokemon game.
Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Wait, I think I know where this is going.
And they're just like, we're not doing the national dex thing because we want to give you nicer graphics and better animations and all this other stuff you weren't necessarily asking for. And everybody went and lost it. Do you see how many dislikes the video has on YouTube?
Yes, I've heard it. And
So wait, by the national dex not being in the game, just for those of us who maybe haven't played Pokemon in a while, like myself, I admit to being one of those Gen 1ers who dabbled in Red growing up, but I haven't really touched it since Gold and Crystal. Does that mean that not every single Pokemon from previous games is going to make the cut this time around?
They had said that they were doing this big initiative where they're doing a new mobile game and they're doing a new bank where you can get stuff between cell phones and other games and stuff. But they said that it's a one-way trip and only Pokemon from Let's Go and Sword and Shield would be able to be transferred. So, and they said that they had no plans to release the full dex because there's like over 1,000 Pokemon now. So it's like, you know, enjoy the Dynamax, enjoy the new area, enjoy the new story. Don't worry about every Pokemon, and everybody's worrying about every Pokemon.
there's just, I mean, to a degree, I can understand it because a lot of the people through Pokemon Bank and all that have been able to take Pokemon from the 3DS ports of the original games and bring them all the way back to the present. But as many people have pointed out, there's like the amount of Pokemon that now exist in the world is now well into like either the high 3 digits or like getting into the 4-digit amounts. And I'm just like, they're upset that they can't bring like their previous Pokemon into the new game with new that's going to be mostly focused on all of the new Pokemon in it.
Yeah, and we don't even know like any of the new Pokemon. I think at E3 we got confirmation of 2 new ones. Just 2. And they're like, we have so much more to show you, but everyone's like, yeah, my old Pokemon. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I sat there and I was a little sad about it at first because I'm a lazy bitch and I like cheating. So I went and did the whole 3DS QR code thing and I made my favorite team with all their great stats and stuff because I don't care about the metagame. I'm not competitive. I just want my shiny Gorgeist. God, is that so much to ask? So I was sad I couldn't bring my favorites into this new area and experience like a new adventure with them all over again. But I'm also like, hey, bitch, get over it. Catch a new one. Play with a new one. Pet a new one.
I am excited for the new ones. Like, almost immediately after the Pokemon Direct, the week prior to the E3 things, the sheep Wooloo has become a favorite, and I look forward to bringing that little monster to my team.
Oh, God.
It's so good.
I'm going to say it. This is going to be another one of those Pokemon paradoxes where the new Pokemon is so precious and adorable that you always want it in your team, but you don't actually want to bring them in a battle because the thought of seeing them faint would literally crush your heart into a bunch of pieces.
It would. The little leaf one, the new leaf one, I was like, she is precious and she must be protected.
Yeah.
I want to bring her everywhere, but I don't want her to die.
And one of the legendaries is apparently Sif from the Great Wolf Sif from Dark Souls.
I haven't beaten it yet. You don't get to make references until you've beaten it at least once.
No, I refuse to give the Dark Souls is not worth my time.
Whoa, hot take. I agree.
The controls are simply awful.
I only played Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Because Bloodborne is a PS4 game that has the controls you'd expect to have in a PS4 game. Anyway, apparently, something I've noticed is that the grass-type gym leader looks like he could be a blood relation to my cosplaying alter ego, Big Debbie.
He's totally a member of your family. And
I mean, he's got the straw hat. He's got the reddish hair. He's almost he's jacked.
So this is going to be similar to the Pokemon too adorable to not have in your team, but also too adorable to let die. I mean, faint. I said faint. You're going to have this Pokemon with the same name as you and put it into battle as your persona stand, if you will.
Yeah.
The same thing, right?
Good.
Yep.
It's okay. For what it's worth, I'm one of those people who has conniptions at the sight of Pichu getting hit in the face, so I could definitely relate.
I mean, while we're on the topic of, things in the Pokemon sphere to get angry about that people probably shouldn't be getting angry about, in the Nintendo E3 presentation, they also revealed another one of the gym leaders, the water-type gym leader, Nessa. And because, the fan art works very fast, people are already complaining that apparently Nessa is a little too scantily dressed, and most people have pointed out that she's a water-type gym leader, and she's near the water, and I'm pretty sure there's a pool in her gym. And referencing to the fact that her outfit is literally a bathing suit.
It probably.
Yeah, it almost looks like she got it on loan from what was left over in an Inkling's closet, frankly.
I just noped so hard out of those conversations. As soon as I saw that one image where that kid from Toy Story dropped the other Pokemon female, she's like, well, the dude's like, I don't want to fap to this anymore, and had Nessa in his other hand. I was like, people are sick, and I'm all done with this.
That's Rule 34 for you.
Done.
All right. But as long as we're, talking about quote-unquote spiciness, and to jump off of that apparent From Software reference, there is one thing from the Microsoft presentation that I do want to gush about in excitement.
Make my day. Say it.
Elden goddamn Ring. My lord. It's funny because a year ago, we had a similar conversation about Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which, for the record, I did indeed beat twice for the principle of the thing, and the final boss gave me flashbacks to my high school root canal. So having not only another From Software RPG, but it being a collaboration with George R.R. Martin, that's gonna be fun.
I think that's better than the ending to Game of Thrones because, I can't say that. People might not have seen the ending yet.
Right.
I'm really, really mad about the ending.
Right. I know a lot of people were, but trust me when I say that Elden Ring is going to be better by default. And all the Thrones fans who are going to be having their first FromSoft experience, well, let's say they're going to end up like all the people who were victims in the Red Wedding episode.
Wow, rude.
Oh, yeah. I can test a personal experience from this. I have my fair share of Dark Souls battle scars, as it were.
If you guys stream it, I'll watch you play it.
Well, we don't even know when it's going to come out or what it looks like. All we know at this point is that it's going to be on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC, but we don't really have any idea about a release date. And I was pissed that we didn't get to see Martin and Souls creator Hidetaka Miyazaki together on stage. If that happened, it would have been even better than Keanu and Cyberpunk.
Well, I mean, there's still a chance. You never know. Maybe it will be at E3 next year.
Or we could always have Gamescom or more likely Tokyo Game Show. That's also possible.
True.
But yeah, I'm going to be happy to do the same old Souls-flavored song and dance where the pain is going to feel good and everyone is going to start giving me the side eye, including you two right now. Don't act like you aren't.
Such masochism.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. I am such a sadistic bastard.
Yeah. So
folks.
to briefly touch back on Animal Crossing, just for a bit of a tonal whiplash, something that I looked up and that I took notice of because is that there's going to be a great deal of, apparently right from the get-go, you're going to be able to customize your character and not have to take a survey from that weird cat that always sits right across from you.
I was so excited to hear that. Like,
That's something.
right there.
That's something I very much appreciated, as I got a lot of mileage on that in Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer. Like every like villager type will be able to have every hairstyle, every article of clothing.
Yeah, nothing is gendered, which is fantastic. I could not have been happier. Like, if Banjo didn't show up, I would have been like, yeah, Nintendo won E3 because of that choice they made with Animal Crossing. Do not at me.
I also heard that the series' perennial jerkwad Mr. Rossetti also got the boot as a byproduct of a new autosave system here.
No.
Yes.
No. See, that's the broke way to think about it. The woke way to think about it is that he finally succeeded. There's no way he's ascended. He's a god now. Break your save file. Rossetti has ascended beyond this mortal plane, and there's nothing you can do about it.
So we should start calling him, I don't know, Autosavus Christ?
Yeah. Oh my
god.
Good.
I didn't even realize that the Rossetti was like reset as a punishment for resetting the game. Like, it took a while for me to get that, but I did, and I'm like, good lord.
I didn't understand it till I first started playing New Leaf.
I remember a long time ago when the first one came out on GameCube, I borrowed it from a friend in school, but he needed it back. I had found out through somebody that if you open your GameCube while that disc is running, it doesn't stop the game. So I essentially had a ghost copy of Animal Crossing indefinitely until I turned off my system or, the power went out. So I don't think I was able to save it because the game disc was missing. So I had to leave it on and just turn the TV off. But I remember Rossetti made a huge deal about that. I think Mom unplugged the system once when she was home from work, and I was at school. So when I finally got to borrow it again, Rossetti just gave me the look of death, and I had worked up a lot. I had 2 house upgrades and stuff, but everything was gone. And then he gave me shit for it. He's like, "Yeah, your town, it's gone. Apocalypse, feel bad. You did this." I'm like, no, it wasn't on purpose.
Oh god, that must have been a very soul-crushing experience for you.
It was sad.
Yay.
Well, here, before we move on then, I can touch on one thing, because when you said Xbox, Ben, I thought you were going to talk about Phantasy Star Online 2.
Right, coming out to the West.
I cumed my jorts. Legit, I was so excited to hear about PSO2. I loved that game on GameCube. And I was like, I have it on my Switch right now, but it's in Japanese, and I can't figure out the CAPTCHA. So it's been sitting on there for a year, taunting me. And then they're just like, no, it's coming out stateside on the Switch too, in English for free. And I got up, I spit out my drink, threw the cup across the room, and I threw my hands in the air in triumph. I was like, my standing has paid off. And then we got Banjo, and then the end of the world. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there too.
Yeah. You have to give Microsoft credit for clearly realizing the error of their ways in the beginning and, bending over backwards and making their older stuff backwards compatible to try to win everyone back from the calamitous reveal of the Xbox One back in the day. And I'm going to say I'm cautiously optimistic about Project Scarlet in 2020, because the way I see it, it'll be like Nintendo with the Switch after the Wii U. It'll either be their redemption story where they make a resounding comeback, or it basically flops. They kill off the hardware division and, I don't know, turn into something to compete with Steam and the Epic Game Store. Because you guys saw how many studios they bought over the last year or so. They're not going to let all that talent go to waste, especially not Obsidian. I hope not.
Yeah. I don't really know what Phantasy Star Online is, so I have no view on this.
If Al Dente's reaction is anything to go by, we can appreciate it the same way I appreciated Joker at Smash and that. It's clearly a franchise that may not be super popular, but it does have a very strong, passionate audience, and any new content is great for them, so I'm happy for them on principle.
As one should be.
So, I don't know, a slightly more low-key part of Nintendo's presentation that I am nonetheless very excited about was their little rundown of Luigi's Mansion 3.
Do not say it.
Why not?
Don't say it.
Don't say what?
Don't say his name.
Luigi?
No.
Oh, you don't mean Gooigi.
No! You eat him!
I stepped out on Dark Moon. What happened?
Oh.
No, this like the person behind the game says that Gooigi, who was originally an addition to the 3DS port of the first Luigi's Mansion and is now like a key mechanic in the third one, is an edible foodstuff.
Well, he already looks like he's made of gelatin, so what's the problem?
They also, like that same day, there was a quote-unquote scientific study that said Luigi appeals to women very well. And then people just started putting those two things together, and I'm like, who do I have to smack across the face for doing this to me?
Oh, I see.
I'm 34.
I get where this is going.
I'm so mad.
It's practically X-rated at this point.
I mean, on the other hand, Luigi's Mansion 3 like is visually gorgeous, and the Luigi's Mansion games, more than like most games in the Nintendo franchise, like when they build like a physical location, like the mansion in the first one or the series of mansions in the second one, they actually build it so you like it seems like an actual building that could conceivably exist.
And yet people hated the first one because, well, it wasn't the Mario launch title they were expecting, which, I can understand the frustration. Let's be fair.
I liked the first one.
I didn't say it was a bad game. It was just different from what people are expecting. And I'm seeing, a similar reaction even to this day because, Banjo and Smash, a lot of people are wondering whatever happened to him. And invariably, that means having to bring up Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts. I know it's the one people don't talk about, but it did exist. It did kill off the franchise. And, well...
Where do you go from there? It just had franchise fatigue. I get that some people don't like nuts and bolts. Honestly, I couldn't care one way or another. I never played it. Instead of focusing on the bad game, I just played Tooie again. Because for a very long time, that game was all I was allowed to play next to Majora's Mask. My family was military. You don't get a lot of video games. And looking back on it now, I just don't care. I just remember the fun memories I had with that. Chewie was awesome. And the callbacks that we got from those two games in Smash Brothers, like legit, I started crying.
Yep,
yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not gonna act like
watching that.
They're gonna act like nuts and bolts never existed, which I guess is for the best.
It never happened. What are we talking about? Oh, sweet. Am I on the Pumpkin Copter cast again? Nice.
Convenient amnesia. I see how this is going.
It's been a hot minute, huh?
So, let's just shift the conversation all the way to the fact that Banjo, because the bear and bird, the bearman and the bird woman,
the bear and bird duo,
is in Smash. So I was right there with everyone else in every Nintendo Direct who, lost their gosh darn minds when, like I didn't actually see the Jiggy because the screen I was looking at it on wasn't super high def, but as soon as once I saw that silhouette, I was practically shaking. I was so excited.
Yeah, so we were watching it too. My roommates were with me, and they're just like, "Oh, it's a bad this time." And I saw the gold thing go by, and I looked, my mind. They were looking at me like a cat. And then as it went on, the silhouette came up, and I just I started T-posing for dominance. I wasn't really. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, the one character I wanted, the one above all others, is finally here. Everyone else is literally cherry on top. I don't know what to do. Somebody pinch me, and then the full reveal, and then I just started screaming, just nonstop screaming. And I was on Discord too. I'll have to dig up the reaction video we shot. There was like, and I did not stop. Everyone stopped talking and just listened to me scream, and I felt so bad. But like, holy shit! Somebody please kill me! A minor inconvenience. What do I do?
Well, I mean, following along on Twitter, so I couldn't really do the freak out in public, but, well, you know me. I'm not the kind of person who easily gets emotional, but I'll be damned if I didn't come this close to shedding a tear watching the trailer once I got off of work, which is saying a lot.
And, yeah, and from the brief bits we've seen of the duo's moveset, it seems to be pretty faithful. I mean, like, my specific favorite part was, I'm going to guess, Banjo's, like, side B is, like, the invincible golden feather move, which was, like, one of my favorite parts of the original Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh my.
Probably the best thing out of all this was when I saw a video of Grant Kirkhope, who wrote the music for the older games. He like posted a video of himself reacting to that announcement. He was like, Banjo, Kazooie. Yep.
I'm sorry.
If we're talking about adorable reactions, we also had almost the exact same type of, cheerful tears when Gerard Khalil, the completionist, posted, his reaction bits to Banjo-Kazooie and Smash, which wasn't like a typical reaction because he had his own E3 things to do, but he was like just propping it up on the TV in his hotel, and he was like scream crying because he was so excited.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Also, Spiral Mountain's a stage. I'm also excited for that.
It's so cool.
And Gruntilda is apparently going to be in it, maybe as a stage hazard. Who knows?
Do you remember in Brawl when Mr. Rossetti would come up and just start talking to the fighters?
Yes.
Yeah.
That does that in this one, where she just starts heckling everybody.
In rhyme?
Yeah, in rhyme. Like, I would just laugh so hard if she started, like, she takes one look at Marth and she starts going on about how you can't tell what gender Marth is because he's so damn pretty. I would lose my mind. It would be great. I think my favorite part, though, was his side smash. When he whips Kazooie out of the backpack and uses her like a goddamn club. I was like,
it's actually reminded me of a joke I once made on a Facebook group where the Banjo thing wasn't really a possibility, and it was a comic where he was utterly confused by Bayonetta's appearance, and he mistook Bayonetta for being one of Gruntilda's sisters. And I was just imagining Bayonetta snapping back in rhyme with something like, "You look a bit nervous. Did I make you twitch? I'll tell you now, Bear. Don't fuck with a witch." Yeah, that would be, it's great, but something in my gut tells me that even with Microsoft and Nintendo being all buddy-buddy, they're not going to sell Rare back to Nintendo. They might port Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie to the Switch, but they just gave those 3 games Xbox One X enhancements for the Rare Replay collection, and I got a feeling that'll be it for a while. They're really putting all their time and energy into Project Scarlet and making that backwards compatible with literally every generation of Xbox games.
Well, I mean, regardless of what they decide to do, Banjo's still in Smash Bros. So I'm completely and utterly sated. I'm so happy. I couldn't ask for anything else at this point, unless they want me to actually die.
Yeah.
Keel over of excitement. Like, please, think of me, Nintendo. Stop. Quit while you're ahead. Love me enough not to. Thank you.
At least until Banjo gets into a fight with Joker and some asshole makes a bunch of crappy Fursona jokes. Not me, but somebody will.
Everybody knows that Kazooie is just Banjo's stand.
So,
Hey, remember that time Sony didn't show up? That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
We did talk about how we're going to organize everything from last to best, and Sony was basically an outlier. They never really confirmed why they didn't show up. A lot of people think it's to focus on the PS5, which they did indirectly confirm was happening. The closest thing we got in the same time frame was a release date for Death Stranding this November, and oh boy, is that gonna be a real piece of work.
I'd be so excited for that game if I knew anything about it and Kojima wasn't, just trying to be cute about it.
Well, this is Kojima, so I think we have a general idea what to expect. And I don't mean in a cheeky, expect the unexpected fashion. I got a feeling that it'll be like when Cyberpunk 2077 comes out, and that you're either going to be forced to get it if you care anything about the integrity of games, or you won't, and you'll look like an unrefined Philistine. Because those Kojima fanboys, it's like with CDPR, they can be an obsessive cult and will not take any perceived insult about their surrogate god lying the fuck down.
Yeah.
The thing is, we've talked about this on and off in the past. Part of what made Kojima so endearing is that, he does go against the grain, and part of going against the grain means accepting the fact that not everyone is going to like the work that you do. It's a legitimate risk, and he's putting himself out there. I'm not saying it's going to be the second coming of Mighty Number 9, but, at this point, if it flops, well, he'll be crying himself to sleep like an anime fan on prom night, I'll tell you that.
Oh, God.
You said the thing.
No, people won't forget, though, because Kojima will put on the super crown and he'll become that endearing small woman. That was
right. You mean Bayonetta?
Yes. That was my favorite out of E3.
No, wait. Better example would be that woman from the Bethesda show, Ikumi Nakamura, I think her name was.
Yeah. Was it Bethesda? Oh, I thought it was Ubisoft. Yeah, but that's the one. Kojima puts on the super crown and becomes her, and I'm like, canon. I'll take it.
I'm just going to go on record and say that objectively, she and Doom Eternal were the only things that people are allowed to like from the Bethesda conference. Everything else doesn't count and doesn't exist, okay?
But Blade's on your Switch.
I'm not going to give Bethesda, unless it's Doom, any more of my cash unless we get a legitimate apology for the shit with Fallout 76.
What a shit show.
Apparently Bethesda wants to make the Doomslayer even angrier than, just as angry or even angrier than Kratos, because apparently he's going to be, beating the ever-loving crap out of angels or something.
That'll be fun commentary.
I thought he had a rabbit in his pocket the whole time.
It's quite possible.
Yeah, but I could see someone trying to fill in that angry meathead role now that Kratos has, for all intents and purposes, become relatively sober.
He's got a kid now.
Yeah, adult responsibilities.
Like, all kids are Satan spawn unless they're your own. And then you realize you gotta stop being so mad all the time.
Yeah, it's true. Though, speaking of demonic entities, can we all agree that, Todd Howard is just a complete dick at this point? I get it. I know that a lot of people were heartbroken with the Fallout 76 debacle, and I went through the exact same thing with Sonic 06. It is never a good... I'm serious. It's never a good time watching a beloved franchise fall on hard times to the point where you start convincing yourself, Skyrim was never good. There's your obligatory meme reference. But then you go further links to, say that you were never a fan of it in the first place, because that's not a good look. You don't want to look like you actually liked something that's now hated, like you gave Bethesda a free pass too many times. But look at it this way, the fans are not the ones with the problem here. Bethesda Game Studios are, for stringing them along and taking advantage of them. They're the jerks. Don't take it out on the fans.
I agree, partially, but I think your hot take upset Nobi Noodle, who's sitting in the background. Skyrim was never good. I think he had like a seizure. He's shoveling fistfuls of smart food popcorn as we speak to try to ease the pain.
Oh, God. Look,
I know, be noodle.
I'm sorry, but that's just kind of
His mouth is full.
that's just the kind of impact it has, though. Like, it sort of rejiggers your old memories, because you can't associate positivity with anything that's hated, because otherwise you're going to look like, well, that one weirdo who apparently kept clapping at the Bethesda show, funnily enough.
He was just really excited.
I actually heard rumors that they apparently slipped drinks to the people that were sitting in the front 2 rows of the show, and that everyone else sitting in the theater was, like, dead quiet.
Oh my God. If they're handing out free alcohol, I want to be part of that crowd. Damn.
You do realize the implications of this if they're true, right?
No, I just want the free booze.
Yeah,
So
free
we'll
things.
gladly take free booze if it runs the risk of lying to us?
Oh, no, whatever they're doing on stage is completely separate from me obtaining free alcohol. They can do whatever the fuck they want. I don't care.
Hey, you want free booze from a Bethesda property? Go look up the shit that happened with Fallout 76's Nuka Dark Rum. You'll be changing your tune.
Is that alcohol?
It was... Well, I don't want this to turn into more Bethesda bashing, so I'll make this quick. The company that did like a tie-in promo with Fallout 76 where they were advertising this drink, Nuka Dark Cola Rum, but it was not only shipped 3 months later, and this cost $80 mine, but it turns out what people thought was premium frosted glass rum was just a regular bottle in a plastic shell.
Oh.
And the drink itself was apparently terrible.
Was this the pre-order thing?
No, that was the bag story, which incidentally just got resolved.
I was going to say they nylon bagged them with the drinks.
Yeah, that's only just now getting resolved, by the way. There's actually this really good faux documentary. I'll email the link to you guys about this whole debacle called The Fall of 76 from Internet Historian. It'll bring you both up to speed on what's been going on, but I'm going to warn you, it's not pretty at all.
He's just a snake oil salesman at this point. We should all be better.
Yeah. I'm not saying they can't redeem themselves. I'm hoping that Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6 can turn things around, but it's going to take a lot more than just, patches, fixes, and incorporating feedback from the community to salvage their reputation at this point.
Dorp. I don't know. I have no faith in that, man. There are a few people I have faith in now. So, in case he fucks up, you can always go back and play Fallout 3.
Or New Vegas, which is apparently considered the only good game that came out of the last few years.
Heck no. I loved 3. I played through that whole game. Landmines themselves.
Liam Neeson is your dad.
So fun. Yeah, he was.
But, well, I guess since this is going to talk about Obsidian at some point, we might as well go into this a little bit. I am genuinely excited for the Outer Worlds because I may not have played New Vegas, but I know Obsidian has a reputation for making very good RPGs. They even worked on the original Fallout games when they were part of Interplay and Black Isle. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they earned their stripes with South Park: The Stick of Truth. That was bloody fantastic.
It was funny.
Yeah. And them having a chance to make the game they've always wanted to make without being screwed over by publishers is very tantalizing. I'll always remember the story of how when they were making New Vegas, they were famously denied their Christmas bonus because they missed their target Metacritic score by 1 point. They got an 84, but Bethesda would only give it to them if they got an 85.
Yeah.
So them being outside that kind of corporate structure and ironically being in another corporate structure is, I hope things work out. I'm sure the Outer Worlds will be good. I just hope it's very good.
So I'm just pretty much just picking a random thing on my list of things, and something I was more so excited about than I thought I'd be is the gameplay trailer for Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, you mean Star Wars Sekiro? I'm joking, obviously, but I have been watching the footage and reading the interviews with Stig Asmussen, I believe his name is. Now, he worked on God of War 2 and 3 back at the PS2 days, so I know he knows his shit, and he's actually gone on record in several interviews saying he's taken inspiration from the likes of Metroid, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro, which that last one was more of a funny coincidence. But yeah, if anyone can put together a decent Star Wars action game, it'll definitely be the guys behind Titanfall.
I mean, it already looks like, from the bits I've seen, it already, like, you can use force powers in cool ways, and you got your lightsaber right from the get-go, so it's already got my attention.
We do have to proceed with caution, after all. Let's not forget that EA hasn't exactly had the best track record when it comes to their big holiday releases. Do I even need to bring up what happened with Battlefront 2?
I think at this point, quite a few that's been brought up enough, especially by people like passing anti-loot box legislations now.
Yeah, we'll file Fallen Order under cautious optimism in this case, but no more.
After
Yeah.
this conversation, I'm probably going to forget, so you'll have to remind me.
It was there was basically a huge uproar with the loot box system in Battlefront 2 to the point that a few state officials.
No. I mean, what I'm saying is loot boxes have meant so little to me that I forget they're a problem.
Right.
And after we're done talking today, I'll probably go back and consider them to not be a problem again because I don't even remember they exist.
Basically, EA is using increasingly more predatory tactics in order to trick people into buying the loot boxes, including, selling objectively better like power-ups and upgrades behind them.
Yeah, and then people try to use what's that game? Overwatch as an example as to how they're good or they're quote optional. But yeah, it's a plague. And it's so rampant in the community that everyone talks about it to the point where it's almost forgettable.
Or that they use the lack of loot boxes in their games as a major selling point. Something even EA did with the marketing of Fallen Order. But I'm like, no.
Again,
they do that.
That's
just hypocrisy.
It's just like the game developers thing. Like, it shouldn't be something we applaud when they stop doing it. Just wake me up when it's not a problem anymore, and I'll be like, cool. When did it shape up?
And I'm not going to forgive them completely for any of this if Fallen Order turns out to be good. It'll be like, all right, you've made a decent step towards redeeming yourself, but I am watching you. Don't think I forgot what you did to Dead Space, you bastards.
They'll just be like, oh, time to market to children again.
Yeah.
Here we go. So
let's see, what else have we? Oh yeah. Speaking of major corporations leading people on, what the hell is going on with the Final Fantasy VII remake?
I'm also confused about that.
Yeah, my confusion is more to do with the structure and the format. I know that they said they had a release date for March of 2020, but that's apparently the first episode, and they have no idea how many episodes this is going to take.
But they just put the whole thing on one disc. Just do it.
I think the first...
Or like two. Like, put two in one box. Games have done that before.
They're already doing that with this first bit, but if that's just the first episode, then the whole thing is going to be like...
Can you imagine how cool it would be to get that game knowing there are 4 discs in that one PlayStation box? That would be hilarious.
It's actually not the first time this has happened. I remember when Lost Odyssey came out on the Xbox 360. That was pretty notorious for having, I think it was 4 discs, and they didn't even have enough room inside the physical 360 box to house all of those discs. So one of them was just crammed in there in like a separate envelope.
Well, I mean, think about it though. Have we ever gotten an instance where there were 4 Blu-ray discs in one box? Has there ever been a game that big? 4 Blu-rays? How funny would that be? That would say to me either this is a really big piece of shit, or it's a very good long game to get invested in. Like, you've been waiting years for this. Get excited. Or 4 new coasters for your coffee table. Like,
yeah, that'll definitely be a punchline if this thing, flops. And when I say flops, I mean, people hate it for not being exactly the same. I mean,
oh my God.
I read that they got a new voice actor for much of the cast, including Cloud. So on a fundamental level, it's going to be different. It's going to be like what happened with, the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, and for that matter, the Crash Team Racing remake coming out later this week. It's a fundamentally different experience, and some people are going to hate it, and yes, they'll probably say some bullshit about it having become Dark Souls. Grumble.
Again, I'm going to go back to Rule 34 again. When people were getting upset about Tifa's new look, I was like, do you remember she looked like Legos?
Yeah.
What is your problem? Stop. Please just stop. I don't understand. No, I'm not getting into it. Sorry. That's enough tea for me. I'm full. Thanks.
Right.
But it shouldn't stop you. For real. If it's going to be a problem, then just go buy the Avengers instead. You want a game that looks different from its source material? Have fun with that one.
Yeah, even that one, I've got no idea what it's gonna look like. And really, I've already had my overblown Square Disney crossover fix with Kingdom Hearts 3, so I'll pass on this one.
People who are mad about Cloud too. I'm just like, be thankful your Cloud gets to speak in English, because for some reason they won't let him have an English voice in Smash Brothers. In fact, they don't like him in there at all. We have 2 pieces of music and 1 stage and no spirits for Cloud. And I'm like, what are you going to do for Dragon Quest? Are you going to give us a bunch of those, but not for Cloud? Everybody loves Cloud. Stop. Be grateful. Don't take it for granted. Be like, wow, look at this brand new shiny Final Fantasy VII. We're so lucky. God, you could have it worse.
Wow. That's one way to rub slime in the wound.
Shut up.
I mean, to be optimistic about it, like the gameplay demo they showed of how the combat will work, I mean, the combat certainly looks really cool.
Yeah, I know they're trying to do like the same kind of turn-based real-time hybrid bit that the genre's been experimenting with on and off, and it looks decent enough, but, well, again, I normally say reserve judgment for the final product, but I have no idea when the final product is even going to come out, and again, it's just like a Crash where it's not going to please everyone, and it's just going to be a nostalgic dumpster fire.
Nothing will ever please everyone, ever. Might as well get over that and accept it as part of your life right now, because if you're holding out for that, the game that pleases everybody, it's never gonna happen.
You try to please everyone and you please no one, and while you're at it, you might as well accept that your childhood nostalgic artifacts, they were never all that special in the first place. You gotta learn to let go, people.
Hey, Banjo-Kazooie would like a word with you.
Nuts and bolts.
I mean, even if like Final Fantasy VII Remake turns out to not be particularly stellar, I can still take solace in the fact that I can play the original Final Fantasy VII on my magical handheld that is also sometimes a console machine whenever I want now, and that's a special type of joy.
Yeah, especially since it was only 22 years late.
But hot damn, that one little tiny piece of plastic you have in your hands has video games from every single major corporation. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Sega. damn, what a future we live in. And it's just going to get cooler.
Yeah. I have fond memories of when they had the direct where they announced the Switch port of Cuphead. And I was really looking forward to seeing how Mr. Pumpkin here was going to handle it. Short version, he did, but how's that therapy bill? What's that therapy bill look like?
I don't know. All I know is that I feel like 10, 20 years down the road that my doctor is going to say I have some sort of inexplicable blood pressure / heart problem.
A stress-reduced lifespan?
No,
I mean,
I want Pumpkin Copter podcast to roll up to the next Boston Pride in their Tesla, playing Cuphead in traffic.
Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
I told him about that. How they're like porting over a piece of the game into Tesla cars. That'll really be something.
I cannot. When you have time to play a video game while you're driving, you moron!
And don't get your hopes up, people. He's not going to be going back in to play through the whole thing on expert mode or, God forbid, do the pacifist runs and beat Cuphead 100%. He's going to be taking it easy for a while.
Cuphead is hell.
I'll just, if ever I need to calm down, I'll just remember that, Alana Nicole, brought the smooth singing styles of King Dice.
And that you did beat Cuphead, which is an accomplishment under any standard. A ranks be damned. That's something to remind yourself of.
And I didn't even use the most rawly powerful loadout, which is doubly surprising to me.
Proud of you.
Hey, if you ever change your mind to go into expert mode, you've got that crutch.
No. Never again.
Maybe you can save that for your 2020 New Year's resolution. Just a thought.
So, let's see. What else? The new Wolfenstein game is coming.
Youngblood?
And in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure style of Legacy Have, this time we get to play as, both of Mr. Bleskowitz's adorable and Nazi shooty daughters.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
True.
I hope that there isn't going to be any... I'm a little confused about this because I thought that Bethesda was going to cram pay-to-win microtransactions, but apparently they're not. I'm just going to wait and see how things shake out with the final product because Lord knows, for better or worse, they were already pushing a few buttons with the new Colossus. And I don't know if they really need that kind of negativity on top of everything else that's been happening.
Their game is about punching Nazis.
And shooting them.
There's nothing more positive than that.
Fair point.
And also, it's the future somehow, so you get future weapons.
In the 1980s, that's considered futuristic.
Yeah, the distant future of the year 1980, who knows?
Yeah, that's certainly something. Oh, yeah, it just occurred to me there was one particular deal that we didn't talk about, which was surprising. Tim Schafer now being part of Microsoft as Double Fine were bought out and part of the Xbox Game Studios family.
Oh, was that what that was about? As soon as I saw his face, I started screaming Psychonauts too, so I kind of got lost in that ether.
Yeah, Double Fine, they were purchased by Microsoft and assimilated into the big Xbox Game Studios brand. But don't worry, even though they bought the rights to the brand from Starbreeze for about $13 million, Psychonauts 2 is still going to be a multi-platform release.
Put it on Switch. Put it on Switch.
Maybe, but we'll see how the second one does. And interesting bit of trivia here. The original Psychonauts actually was commissioned as an Xbox exclusive back in 2004. But the deal fell apart in early 2005 because it was the company's first attempt at something other than a pure adventure game, and they were having trouble meeting the development milestones that were laid out by Microsoft.
Hot damn, was that game fun.
Yeah, I'm glad it turned out as good as it did. And now here we are, almost 15 years later, getting a sequel in a hype cycle that is giving me Kingdom Hearts 3 flashbacks.
Richard Horvitz does not age. He still sounds just as good as he did all those years ago during the Angry Beavers.
Don't forget Invader Zim and Billy and Mandy.
It's hard not to. Dude's a legend.
It's true. But how do you feel about them being a part of a big corporation, given that was part of Schaefer's whole thing with Double Fine and the Kickstarter back in 2012? He'd always fashioned himself as being something of a scrappy, likable underdog whose creative ideas were always screwed over by the man, and now he's owned by the same man who rejected him in the first place.
I mean, if it makes the company more stable and they're able to churn out more stuff at a regular pace, I think it could ultimately be for the best.
I agree.
Plus,
some stability.
I mean, from like the brief trailer that we've seen, like the gameplay is going to be like the gameplay styles is going to be like what it was in the first Psychonauts game, but with the benefit of having like all of the new technologies to make it like the best possible version of what it could be.
Partying like it's 2005. I don't mean that as a bad thing.
So, yeah, let's see. Something else that I think was the Microsoft bit that I think fell past the wayside for a lot of people, and the trailer just immediately drew me in was, I think, hopefully I'm getting this right, Spiritfarer, which is apparently like an RPG-ish type game where it literally looks like the characters like in a drawing, like almost D&D style drawing, and like all of the levels you progress through are just further drawings on that piece of paper. And I mean, it looks like I'm already very interested, and I'm probably going to be following that. And it looks like it might be an underappreciated gem considering everything else that happened.
You want to talk a game that has potential and style? Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I got my hands on the definitive edition of Ori and the Blind Forest, and I'm going to go on record and say that it is objectively one of the best Metroidvanias I've ever played. It's right up there with the likes of Hollow Knight and the two Guacamelee games. That fucking good. And the idea of getting a sequel, especially so soon, oh god, it has got me salivating.
Speaking of Hollow Knight, like when I first heard they were making a sequel, I was very excited that my favorite character of Hollow Knight is going to be the main character in that one.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll get a multi-platform release like when they ported it to the other consoles with the Void Heart edition. And you got to give props to Team Cherry. That is a true underdog Kickstarter story, if ever there was one.
Yeah.
Aside from that, well, as long as we're talking about Microsoft and surprises, there was one that stuck out at me for all the wrong reasons. You know how I said earlier in the show that they brought out Xbox One X enhancements for some of the older Rare Replay games, and they were focusing on making Project Scarlet backwards compatible with every single Xbox game in existence?
I think so.
Well, they announced a final batch of backwards compatible 360 games for the One, and there was one game in particular that shocked me in a very horrifying way. Too Human. I was never expecting that to see the light of day, ever. I see you're both in a state of shock from what I just said, so let me explain. That game performed so poorly upon its release that there was a lawsuit that Silicon Knights filed against Epic Games. They claimed that they were intentionally being sabotaged by giving a crappier version of the Unreal Engine, and that they were using a better version to make the Gears of War games look good. But then Epic countersued, claiming that they were infringing on their copyright by still using bits and pieces of it, and it turns out they were. It was very poorly handled. So not only was the game removed from sale physically and digitally, but a judge upheld that all remaining physical copies of the game had to be destroyed. Straight up.
Huh.
So you can imagine my surprise when I found a game that was not only infamously terrible, but technically illegal, was made available for download through this program. It's a free download, sure, but you definitely get what you pay for.
I don't know about you, but I love free stuff. So, yay, free game.
So you're saying I should check out such a god-awful piece of garbage on that principle?
Absolutely. Something to talk about on the podcast. Do some research.
Okay, fine. If I have nothing else better to do, I might take you both up on that offer.
Proud of you.
Thanks.
So when Nintendo did their sizzle reel near the end of their presentation, I noticed that a certain Poiple Dragon is also going to be joining us on the Switch before too long.
Right. You did get the PS4 version of that collection recently, didn't you?
I did not, actually. I was getting other things at the time.
Right. Well, I hope that the Switch version doesn't have to deal with the same crap that affected the other physical versions, where you had to literally download the rest of it through a content patch.
Here's hoping that's not the case.
Yeah. I understand that it'll probably be handled in the same way that the Switch version of the Crash Bandicoot trilogy was, so it'll probably be on par, but don't worry, it's not going to be anywhere near as nightmarishly difficult as the Crash trilogy. You have to give them credit for taking the high road on this one.
Yeah.
What, no F-bomb? You know what I'm talking about.
I do. I was just my mind just started drifting to, the Keanu Reeves with Cyberpunk.
Is that going to be enough to convince either of you to get it?
I mean, the game does look neat.
Full disclosure, I already pre-ordered a digital Xbox copy within 24 hours after it. I mean, one of the Witcher 3 fan base would not let me live it down, so I kind of had to do it out of fear that I would get physically assaulted.
I do not have the systems to play most of these games on. I have a Switch, that's it. So you'll have to let me know. Or if you play it on Twitch, I'll tune in if I'm around. Let me know.
We'll see.
The good
I'm
boy.
sure at least one person is going to set a world record on Twitch for, the pacifist run. They're saying that can be done, which apparently wasn't in the cards originally.
Are all games just Undertale now? Did I miss this memo? What happened?
Don't look at me. I mean, if you think about it, Cuphead is Undertale from a parallel universe where the pacifist run is the hardest thing to pull off.
Earthbound? Sans' Nest.
Pretty much. But yeah, in all seriousness, I'm hoping Cyberpunk will be good. I'm expecting at least an 8 out of 10, but I promise I'll do my best to not turn this into a quasi-political thing where if you don't like the game, there's apparently something wrong with you, or if you do like the game, you're, an elitist jerk. I'll reserve judgment until I get my hands on it next April. Cautiously optimistic. That's how I want to approach this.
Yeah. So let's see. I mean, that's all of the things I can think of that were worth remembering at the various E3 presentations.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I got too. I
Tapped
feel like 2020 is going to be the more substantial one because in addition to more details on Scarlet, I would be genuinely shocked if Sony didn't at least reveal the PlayStation 5 and the release dates for stuff like The Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Neo 2, and I can't think of anything else big that's coming out for the PS4 aside from those three.
Yep. So I guess that brings this particular episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast to a close. I would like to thank my two co-hosts, Ben the Destroyer and Binch Al Dente, for joining me and once again entertaining my delusions of video game show have.
No problem. Happy to be here. It's been a long time. Again.
I apologize in advance for anyone who suffered Vietnam flashbacks for whatever reason. This was a very heavy episode for one reason or another, just like Dark Souls.
Oh yeah, no, sipping tea is my favorite thing to do now. So no worries. Yeah, I kind of get caught up in stuff like this, so it's a lot of fun.
No, it's cool. It was just like a bit of a joke.
So, yeah, if any of the -7 of you listening to this enjoyed it, you can like and subscribe. You can follow me on the Twitters at tgorman83. You'll know it's me, as I'll be Big Debbie holding the Infinity Gauntlet, as I've been known to do at PAXs.
Snap your fingers and the Sully meme will play.
I believe you can follow Binch Al Dente by looking at Binch Al Dente on the Twitters, and you can look for Ben's works if you go to the Couch Bandits website.
Sounds good. Follow there or something.
It's a pleasure as always.
And yes, this has been the Pumpkin Copter Cast, and as I've always said since the very beginning of the show, have a gourd day.
Stop. Why? When did this happen? Has this always been a thing?
No, you can blame Ashley Jenkins, creator of Grapple Force Arena, for that catchphrase.
Go find her right now and be like,
yeah, you can thank her for planting this.
You can find him right now and tell him. So yes, goodbye all.